Jake, in what ways can shame be persistent, and how might a shame message follow us even after significant recovery?
Right. Shame often goes back so far in our lives, so far in our lives. Um, Developmentally, if you look at this from developmental psychology, you know, children, babies start feeling shame very early on, very early on, as you know, between a year and 18 months, um, and then even beyond. You know, my 2.5 year old right now, she is just now in this place where I think she's beginning to be able to differentiate a little bit between shame and guilt. But
Mm.
right now, if I discipline her, she feels shame. She collapses. She sinks down, right? Or not even disciplining her. We as we were talking before we started recording, we flew in from Ohio last night. And when we were at the baggage carousel, I'm trying to get all the bags, and we've got another little one. My wife was tending to the 5 year old, and I look over, and Lottie, the 2.5 year old, is reaching her fingers over into the, conveyor
Mm.
Yeah.
belt. And I said, Lottie, no. And her eyes, this is important actually. Her eyes get really big and she looks at me. So what does that tell me is happening? First, there's this spike, right? Like a fighter, like a whoo, upward tick. And I said, no, no, get your fingers off there. And she did. And then all of a sudden she just collapsed onto the floor. Boom. Like lost control of her body. Her legs buckled underneath her. And she was a pool on the floor in the middle of the airport. That is early on what's happening physiologically, neurobiologically with shame is there is a threat. And the threat, what was the threat there? She doesn't understand that the threat is the conveyor belt. I do. I know it's about the conveyor belt.
Hmm.
What does she think is the threat? Daddy just yelled
Mm.
at her. And so she feels a rupture between us. She spikes in fear, and then children are egocentric. And so it's about what? Her. She's bad. She's done something wrong. And she collapses in a pool. Now, I go over there, I scoop her up, I comfort her. Hey, it's okay. Daddy loves you. I don't want you to get hurt. See that conveyor? That could hurt your fingers. I don't want you to be hurt. Oh, daddy loves you. Daddy loves you. Right? And she's getting her breath regulated. And what's happening there is literally my nervous system is upregulating her nervous system out of that, what's called a dorsal vagal collapse, out of that collapse. Her nervous system does not have the capacity to upregulate on its own. Now, here's why this is important. How many of our listeners had caregivers willing to stop them from getting their fingers hurt, but they didn't come over and then repair
Mm.
the rupture? And so now what happens? See, when I do that with my daughter over and over and over again, her nervous system is learning, oh, he loves me. It's not me. It's that thing I was doing or about to do. That's bad. I'm not bad. And so that she gets that message. And secondly, her nervous system is getting reps, getting upregulated out of the shame. Well, so many of the people I work with did not have a caregiver helping them, one, psychologically develop that distinction between, oh, it's not me that's bad, it's that thing I was doing. And number two, helping their nervous systems develop the capacity to come up out of shame. And so when they fall in that shame hole, they have a deficit. And I don't mean that in an insulting way. What this is important for the spouses of those folks to understand. This isn't a choice they're making. It's a deficit in their capacity to come up out of that shame.
Mm.
You mentioned that many of our listeners may not have had environments where that rupture was repaired. And I
Right.
think how many not only didn't have that, but the rupture continued because in that
Yes.
situation, many parents kind of being parents in the way they were maybe taught or thought they should be like, what were you thinking? That was stupid. Don't be so stupid. You know better than
Yes.
that. And in an effort to like scare them away from something that hurt them, actually shame was heaped on in more ways that left the child without the capacity, just like you said, to reason out what's happening here with a much deeper message of, oh, that action is related to me being bad and that there is something wrong with me. I'm stupid. I'm not smart, whatever the case might be. And I think that gets to the heart of this question of why might that message of shame persist? It's because we often think shame is associated with my current behaviors that I'm trying to unravel. And so if I've been able to stop, viewing pornography or acting out in other compulsive ways, like, oh, now the shame is gone because the behaviors are gone. But then we see, no, this shame message and the patterns of it in my thinking go way, way deeper and further back than my present sexual behaviors. And it's often difficult because those presenting behaviors are what we really want to stop and alter so that the marriage can heal or we can break out of that cycle. That is often our early focus. And it's the very reason we've been doing this series, because sometimes it is 6 months or a year or 2 years in that some deeper layers of shame suddenly start to come to the surface in ways that I think many of us find a little surprising. Like, oh, I thought I worked on this. I thought I've done so much work. Why is that still there? It's because those messages go so deep. And it is the part of recovery that I say, this is why it takes a while. Amending, changing your behaviors, that can happen fairly quickly. But getting all the way into the core of messages that drive shame, that in some ways I think is a lifelong pursuit.
Absolutely. Yeah, because when I'm in that addictive cycle, those behaviors that are contrary to my values, they fuel shame. And so it makes sense that I think, oh, okay, so stop the behaviors, the shame goes away. But I'm not going to say 100% of the time, but I would say the vast majority of the time, those behaviors started because shame was already there.
That's right.
And the behaviors were a way of coping, medicating, numbing, right? Trying to manage the shame that was already there, right? So if I'm raised in an environment where I'm not being nurtured, where these ruptures aren't being repaired, where I don't have a caregiver who is helping build this sense of self that is to be celebrated, if I don't have that and I've got this underlying shame, okay, well, guess what? Guess how I can feel worthwhile, connected? Well, through these sexual acting out behaviors. And it works for a minute, but not long term.
That's right.
Yeah. Jake, I just so love the ways in which the Holy Spirit gifts us with stories that are really relevant. And as you had one like just days ago, I can get the sense that it's because you've done the work that you didn't have to take the shame that you were experiencing in that moment and then pass that on to your daughter. So you raised your voice, like obvious, it's a safety issue. Like this is a good time to raise her voice. But instead of that shame message then coming around to where you might have the response to look around, who's looking at me now because I raised my voice?
Yes,
I'm the
right.
dad that yells at his kids.
Absolutely. And then you experience that shame. Well, then that's so heavy. You're the pass down. And so I can look at stories and be like, you did the best that you could. And this is just some of those areas where there is a deeper layer to look into our story to say, hey, maybe at some point in your early growing up years, did you have a moment where everyone was staring at you and you didn't know how to respond and you had like, maybe it was embarrassment or something like that? Like, where might that connect to that airport story? And I think that's just the beauty of counseling and group work, is to dig back through and say, when you experienced that, then what was the thing that you went to try and take that feeling away? And let's go there and start looking at that part of our story, because what you got to offer your daughter was something beautiful, and there's so many times that just doesn't happen as a part of our story.